Okay, let's see. Where's my mouse? Let's see my mouse. Well, anyway, okay. Good morning, not co-bank. High 10 partners. High 10 George Realty. Good morning. Hope everybody had a nice weekend. The weather was beautiful. I went to the Huntington Library yesterday. It was gorgeous. It was a very nice walk and a lot of things to see, museums and the gardens, and it's just beautiful. And it's, if you live around this area, I think you should go there and take a look. And it has. I haven't been there for about 5 years, and now when I went back yesterday, a lot of changes, but very nice, and it's a good walk. If you're not the team member, you have to pay $24, but the parking is free. And if you want to become a member, I think it's $129 a year. I think it's very worth it. So. But anyway, just a side note. But the weather was getting very nice now, and the summer is coming, and they're good for going to door knocking and promoting your business. So and actually the housing market is getting a little bit better and a lot more activities. So this is the time to really work on your business. Okay. All right. So with that, I would like to welcome all the agents and the affiliates. And today we have Mark Wu as affiliate spotlight. He will talk about the insurance crisis. I hope he has some good news for us. But before that, I would like to introduce the other affiliates first. Let's begin with John Wax from Snap NHG. John, go ahead.
Thank you, Peter, Michelle. I am very proud and blessed to be a part of your team and your office. I just want to touch base on the FHDS car form. And it is in our reports, and it is changing. They're adding 12 new questions to the home hardening part that you will ask your client if he's aware if he did any changes. It's for the retrofitting of the home. It's a change. It'll go into effect July 1st. It will be in our reports. If you have questions, I know Michelle will ask me to do a class. I'll be happy to do a class on it. And we will get that information to you so that you'll feel more comfortable with the new form. And as far as anything else goes, remember, you need a report for your leases. We're the only ones with the free lease report. And you also need it for vacant land. I've had questions where, do I need it for vacant land? Of course you do. Any sale of real property in California requires an NHD and at least a tax report. But I do recommend getting your environmental also. Excuse me. And don't forget, we have that property tax estimator right on our website. I'm here for you. Always wear your badges, have cards, pens, appropriate documents with you, because you never know where the next deal is coming from. Let's have a great meeting and a great June. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. I always like your energy. Very good. Thank you. All right. Next, we have Nicole Manat from Fidelity National. Nicole, go ahead.
Morning. Thank you, Peter and Michelle and agents. Happy June, first week of June. So much opportunity. And as Peter was saying, it is a perfect time to be prospecting. And a tip, because I've been receiving a lot of calls regarding fraud. Just want to provide you with a reminder that LA County offers a free e-notification alert service. So you can provide this link to clients, to prospects, which will allow them to register their properties. All they need is the assessor parcel numbers. If you need that information, let us know. We can pull that for you. And also an email address, so they can register those APNs along with their email address, and it will provide an notification within 48 hours if a deed, a mortgage, or a notice of default are filed on their property. So it's a simple way to remain proactive, as well as for you to show that you're providing value to your clients and prospects. If you need help and would like the registration link, send me a message. I'll leave my information in the chat. Have a fantastic day. And if you're writing up a contract, remember Nicole and Yvonne, Fidelity National Title. We'd love you for it. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Appreciate it. Next we have Unita Wu from
Home Warranty for
Home
America.
Warranty.
Let me help you.
Unita.
Good morning, Peter.
Okay,
Good morning,
thank you.
Michelle. Good morning,
13-month Home
everyone.
Warranty. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. I just want to say hello, good morning, happy Monday. Unita Wu, Home Warranty for America, the 13 months, always here to help you for any home warranty needs. I do have Mandarin brochure, English brochure, Spanish brochure. If you guys need it, please let me know, because I know some people like to read them a little bit more thorough on it. And right now, we are the only one that have that homeowner insurance included for additional $1,000. So if any issue with the slap lake or things like that, we could be able to help you with your homeowner insurance as well. And our trade call fee is still low at the $75 and 1 month free always. So reach out to me with anything, and I'm here to help you guys. Thank you again.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay. Michelle, do we have any affiliates in the training room?
Yes, yes,
Can you introduce them first
yes.
before we introduce Mark Wu? Hi, Yolanda.
Hi, how are
Good
you?
morning.
Hi,
How are you?
Peter. Welcome this morning. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. Yolanda Martinez Arenas, WFG National Title Company. Yes, it's picking up. It's getting busier. I love it when I'm out and about on the weekends and I see all these open houses nights. The listings are coming and so are the sales. So if you need anything for prospecting, please give me a call. But what I wanted to share to everybody is because I love education. Love, love, love education. Just want to give everybody an update. Gov Hutchison is coming to the Western Gable board. He's going to be there a week from this Thursday, June 12th, right after the regular breakfast meeting. So that's next Thursday, June 12th, from 10 a.m. to 11:45. He's going to do all the legal updates for 2025. Gov Hutchinson is awesome. I mean, he's very informative. I love listening to him, and he has a lot of important information. I will leave this flyer. You do need to register because it will fill up. Okay, so I'll leave this with Michelle, but please sign up if you can. Wishing all of you an awesome week. Give me a call, Yolanda Arenas, WP National Title Company. Thank you.
Oh, that's good. Good information. Thank you, Yolanda. Yeah, Gov Hutchinson is just terrific. You know, he always talking during the town hall meeting with the brokers, and he's very, very knowledgeable in the legal aspect of the real estate. So I strongly recommend that you attend his meeting on next Thursday, right, Michelle? Yeah, I think so, right?
June 12th. June 12th.
So yeah, just next Thursday. Okay, with that, I think we have all the affiliates other than Mark Wu, which is our affiliate spotlight today. So Mark, thank you for coming and thank you for sharing your insurance crisis with us. Go ahead.
Happy to help. Good morning, everybody. Mark Wu here with AMS Insurance Agency. I am your spotlight for today. I've been an insurance agent in the San Gabriel Valley for over 38 years. Married to my wife, Susan, for 36 of those, and have 3 daughters that are, one's in real estate industry doing property management. The middle one is in physical therapy, and the youngest is doing an accounting for a real estate property management company in Irvine. So anyways, I graduated of Cal Poly Pomona, but owned my Allstate agency for 36 of those years, sold it, and was just going to dabble in it a little bit as I want to focus on philanthropy in this phase of my life. But been getting a lot of calls, and so I've only partnered with several offices. I've tried to slow down my business, and you guys are one of them. So what I do is I consider myself consultant, insurance consultant. Many of you guys are having issues finding insurance in this economic crisis in the insurance industry, where there is, many companies. The top six companies, sorry, out of 12 in California have left the market, and the other six have heavily restricted. So it's a very small market of those that can afford insurance, and so a lot of times we're having to go into the fair plan and as a avenue of last resort. And I will cover that in a little bit. But so the process is where I'm able to assist you and your buyers. A lot of you guys are getting non-renewals. Your buyers are, and that's a way to show them, hey, you're ready to help them out, even though it's not technically a real estate transaction. Many of you who are property managing, I'm getting lots and lots of calls for those of you who do residential where there's 5 or more units, and companies are canceling those commercial policies. And so I have a market for apartment insurance, and able to navigate through that. Same as in homeowners, the areas that are most concerned naturally are our foothills. Prior to this year, everybody used to say, what kind of issues do we have? We haven't had fires that are that big, and you can see what a devastating wildfire can do. It can wipe out a whole community like it did in Pacific Palisades and Altadena. The fortunate thing is I have been able to get insurance in Altadena and the surrounding areas like La Cañada and Sierra Madre, but know that the cost is going to be double, if not triple, what the prior homeowners were covering. And in addition to that, it's taking a longer time. So a lot of times now where this is something different is we used to have to not have to have the appraisals, the home inspections, but some of my underwriters are requesting that along with pictures of all 4 of the exteriors plus the interiors. And this you can't just forward us MLS and say, take it out of there, because they want a current picture. And whether you have to edit it from the MLS, that's up to you. But I cannot go on the MLS and download those pictures, because the underwriters will not accept that, unfortunately. Again, I'm here to assist you in those areas. Know that where I try to assist my clients we first try to go with a standard carrier. These are carriers approved by the state of California, the Department of Insurance. And these are companies like your State Farm, Farmers, Allstate, AAA, Mercury, whatnot, okay? That's your standard carriers. Then there are what we call substandard carriers. These are insurance companies that are doing business in California, but they don't have to abide by all the numerous regulations of the Department of Insurance. So then your question, or your buyer's question, is, well, why would I put my clients at risk in that regards and whatnot? So what we normally do is we recommend that you go with what we call A-rated carriers. All financial institutions, including insurance companies, are rated by rating industry to determine the financial wherewithal of a company, how financially strong they are and whatnot. And so what we do is that I only work with A-rated carriers. And I personally like standard carriers more than the fair plan, because on the fair plan policy, you will have to have 2 policies, because the fair plan policies cover fire and the main perils. But what they don't cover is that they don't cover the liability, which really exposes your buyers, and they don't cover theft, and they don't cover water damage. So if you just get the stripped down fire policy, you really expose the client. So you need 2 policies to make 1 policy when I'm dealing with fair plan, but I can deal with all 3. And again, the things that are most important in today's market is that you got to ensure that you are conveying to me or your insurance broker whether or not there is any galvanized piping in the property, because that will disqualify you from many of the preferred companies. All right. They're wanting all 100% PVC or copper plumbing. You also should find out the age and type of roof. All right. And then the other super important question is if they've had any claims, I need to have you list the amount, type of claims that you have, that home has had in the past 5 years, because we got to prove to the underwriter that those claims have been remediated, meaning that they have been taken care of. Without that, it will hang us up. The other thing that I've been seeing a lot of is where realtors are giving me a name, and then on the back end they're saying, wait a minute, we're going to do it under LLC, or we're going to do it under their trust. What that does is that puts me back in the front of the line. I mean, behind the line again. I got to start the process all over. I can't just switch out a name. So if you know that your buyers are buying it under another entity, you got to make sure that you're letting your insurance agent know that, because you will be delaying the proposal coming to you, and that can slow down your ability to obtain the insurance in a timely manner. So it's super, super important. I guess there's a question on what's the lead time on a quote. I can do most quotes in a day as long as they're not in a brush area, a high fire area, and it's taking up to 5 days, which is faster than we were. It was taking 2-3 weeks, even with the fair plan at the beginning of the year. Now we're getting, I can't think of one that's taken me more than 5 days. So we're well within your contingency period. I guess I see many times that the insurance contingency period is about 14 days. And so know that if there's a claim on the property, then it's going to be delayed. And so you gotta qualify that. If the sellers don't disclose that, then that's going to be an issue. So anyways, I'm open to questions, Peter, or.
Yeah, any questions for Mark?
Oh, I actually had one more thing. So a lot of people came up to me and said, hey, Mark, State Farm, the Department of Insurance finally approved State Farm's rate increase, 17%. Does that mean that they're coming back into the business? And from all my buddies, they're telling me not this year. But that is good news, because this is the reason why insurance companies aren't in business in California is they're not getting the proper rate to justify the risk that they're taking. So they'd rather bail on California than be restricted in raising rates. So I think that will open up the market a little bit, but and that's a positive thing. The negative thing is if you have a policy, you're going to be raised up quite a bit. But hey, we have to have insurance or you guys can't close deals.
Yeah. I think the most important thing, a question for the agents, is when is the insurance rate coming down? Because right now it's so high that they don't think that it's feasible to pay the insurance premium, So
I think it'll come down when the market opens up, because it's a free market, right? So people are competing. So once they start opening and allowing companies to raise their rate, you're not dealing with just 1 or 2 companies that have the higher rates, but you're dealing with other players coming into the business. And then that should start adjusting. It's just the same as homes. When do prices come down? Well, when there's more buyers than sellers, right?
Supply and demand, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you very much. Any questions for Mark?
Any questions in the room?
No, we're good.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
It said, is there still a problem to switch insurance companies? I do not recommend that, even though it costs me money in business. Frankly, I'm very blessed, and I've always done that. I do the right things for friends and clients. So in this market, you want to stay with who you have, even if it's a little bit more. Now, if it goes up 3-4 times, then shop it. But if it's less than double, I'm telling everybody, stay where you're at, because you want that relationship with your current carrier. Because anybody that you go with, doesn't matter who it is, if you have a claim in the first year, you're going to be non-renewed.
Wow. Good. All right. Thank you for the advice. Any more questions for Mark? If not, I would like to thank Mark for such a valuable information. You're always great help, Mark. Thank you for supporting.
You're most welcome.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have a couple, before we go into business of the company, I have a couple of announcements to make. As you know, the CRE win. Oh, I'm sorry, Angie, you came in late, huh? Okay, why don't go ahead? You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I came in when Mark was talking. I didn't want to interrupt.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Thank First American Title. So just wanted to remind you that the FinCEN is going to be extended, and it's going to be going to be a little different. I think it's going to be here for a long time. There's not going to be any extensions anymore. I think it's just going to be fair game for all properties that are buying through all cash, whether it be a trust or any LLC or anything anymore. And there's not going to be a stipulation as to the amount of the cash. So it's all properties, I think, under buying under cash. So I know that now they're also changing it where they're going to be reliant on the escrow to go through the FinCEN instead of title. But what we've done in place, we have some things planned up already that we're going to be able to help implement this and not cause a delay in escrow, because escrow is not going to be familiar with running all the FinCEN documents and submitting it to the government. So if the escrow wants us to be able to help them through it and lessen the liability on their part, because we're already understanding of how the process works, we can definitely help the escrows along with that as well. They just have to let us know ahead of time. So again, with all transactions, everything has to be communicated with everybody and all parties, because if it's not, we're going to have a hiccup, because we all are in the same transaction trying to close it as quickly as possible for everyone. So we're here to help you grow your business and insure it. Angie Tang, First American Title. Thanks, Peter. Hi, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, Camille has a question.
I
Any
do.
question?
So, are we supposed to give a copy of the RPA to our title rep? Because I've never done that in the past. But now you're saying that with all cash transactions, there may be some additional hurdles. So would that be a good practice?
No, that's not going to be part of FinCEN. So FinCEN is the government regulation where they have an extra form that they need to fill out. That's a government form that we gather usually whenever escrow gives it to us, and then we submit it to the government to clear it. So it's not really related to the RPA. It's just FinCEN is that it's also called GTO, the Geographical Targeting Ordinance. So they're the same thing. FinCEN, GTO, it's the same thing. It's just an extra documentation that will be needed, but it's not something that's attached to the RPA.
So we don't have to let you know that we have all cash buyers.
Well, you do have to let me know, but I don't need to see the RPA. You just have to let us know that it's all cash buyer.
Won't escrow just do that automatically?
No, they usually don't. They usually tell us, and then we give them the form, and then we wait for that to be filled out. Then we submit it to the government. So it's not, so now what they're doing is, instead of having it sent to us, escrow has to send it directly to the government and require all those forms to be filled out. So instead of going through us, escrow now has a liability to clear it before we can close.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Angie.
You're welcome.
All right. Back to my messages. As you know that the CLE win has come to a conclusion last Wednesday. So that was the last of the 10th session. So after this session, if you attended the seminar, 80% of the time, you are eligible to receive a certificate from Co-op Banker Commercial, which you entitle your name to be listed there in their website. And also you have networking, you have the resources in the Co-op Banker Commercial. But in order to do that, you have to do two things. One is that you have to have attended the seminars 80% of the time. And also you have to register and request for a certificate. They give you a link, George Best give you a link to report your attendance, not your attendance, but your comments, and also certify that you have attended 80% of the class. And if you do that, then it will send you a certificate through the email that you provided to them. So make sure that you do that. Otherwise, you won't receive a certificate. And I would like to have all the agents that have attended the seminar to receive the certificate, because this is, I mean, it's a nice thing to be listed in the commercial, in the Co-op Banker Commercial. So do that, okay? And then this Wednesday, we will not have a lunch and learn, but we will have lunch and learn next Wednesday. Nevertheless, we have a Friday training, which is at 1 o'clock this Friday, and Michelle is going to touch up on the RPA again, because there's a lot of questions on that technicality and the little details of the RPA. So this Friday, training in RPA at 1 o'clock. And also, I'd like to remind you that we will have a summer party. It's the company party, and all the agents and affiliates are invited. It will be on June the 20th. This is a Friday from 3 to 6. So it'll be a good thing to unwind at the end of the Friday, and the anticipation for the following weekend. So I would like to invite everybody to come, and it will be fun. It will be food and drink and fellowshippings. Okay, this month on the 20th, Friday from 3 to 6. Okay, put that on your calendar. All right, and that's all the announcements. Anything from you, Michelle, that you like to announce?
No, you just covered it. Just hope to see you all at the party.
Yeah, okay, good. Wonderful. All right, now it comes to the listing and new listings, and also the new escrow. Actually, I'm pleased to report to you that we had a good week last week. Actually, we closed 11 escrows, very good. And also presently we have 11 escrow ongoing. So the activities has been really increasing, and we hope to maintain the momentum. But this week's listing has been a little bit thin. We only had 2 new listings, and we would like to work on that better. And remember, the listing is the name of the game. Once you get the listing, you have half of the battle won already. So go ahead and try to drum up business and get more listing. And this is the best time to do it. Okay. Now, as far as the new listing is concerned, we have Cindy Fan and Cody Wu for residents in Los Angeles for $799,000, and then Herman Solito have residents in Los Angeles for $798,000. So that's all the listing that we have, only 2. But we have 11 escrow currently this week, and the first one is the Suki Husky is the residential lease for $3,700 per month, and KO have a referral for the Movano Valley property for $590,000. Helen Lee has a double-ended residential lease for $4,400 per month. Judy Salisa has residence in Diamond Bar for $1.528 million, and Judy is the selling agent. Then we have Nina and Tatiana co-listing, and also selling a condo in Monterey Park for $708,000. Sophia has residence sold for $1.65 million in Uvalanda. Jesse, not Jesse, but Jesus Elavas has income property for $649,000 in Los Angeles. Daniel Melendez, a commercial property for $2.25 million, and he's the selling agent. Then we have Shimi Camp double-ended lease in Roland Heights for $230,000. Tatiana Tang for residence in Irvine for $2.6 million. Last but not the least, we have Juan Violante residence in Baldwin Park for $610,000. So pretty good. 11 escrow, not bad, right? So any more listing that I have missed, or the escrow that I have missed, or any reduction in price, or anything that you want to pitch your property, please speak up. Anybody? No? Pretty quiet, huh? Okay. Anything that you want to share? Any thrill of success or agony of defeat that you want to share with your fellow agents? This is time to do it. We still have quite a bit of time today, so
This is Camelia.
Camila, go ahead.
I just want to share that I have some buyers that are looking for a property that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath, anywhere in the LA County, but mostly SGV, which is going to be kind of hard. But anyway, so if someone has something under $1 million, under 900,
Three bedrooms, under 900?
yes. Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah.
But I have faith that I could find them something.
Yeah, well, it depends on which area. If you are talking about San Gabriel Valley, it can be tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it is tough. But any of the outskirts would be fine too.
Okay, we'll try to find it for you. Anybody else? No? Okay, if nothing else, I would like to share something important with you. Michelle, can you let me share the screen? Michelle?
She stepped away to scan
She stepped away.
something. She
Can
stepped
you-
away to scan something right now.
Okay.
And
Can you let me share the screen?
here, let me see. How's that?
Okay, let me see. Nope, still not. Okay, I think
Sorry.
Here, she just wants to
Answer the
share.
call. I'm sorry, Peter.
that's
Had a
okay.
call. Okay.
I need to share the screen.
Did you get it?
No.
There we go.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, now I can screen it. Good.
Sorry about that.
Wonderful. Very
I
good.
had
Okay, now recently we have an incident where one of our agents did not properly cancel purchase agreement with the buyer, and now they end up selling the same property to 2 different buyers, and now there's a dispute of who is the appropriate buyer, who's the rightful buyer, and now the buyer, both the first buyer and the second buyer, and also the seller, as well as the well, 3 parties suing everybody, suing the agent, the escrow company, and the buyer. They are in the trend to each other. So it's a messy lawsuit. So needless to say, it can be avoided, and if proper attention is been paid to properly cancel the RPA and then cancel the escrow. But nevertheless, this is something that we have to be very, very careful, because if all it takes is a little oversight, and then it mushroom into a big lawsuit. Right now, we're going through mediation. I don't know what will happen, but if the mediation is not successful, it's going to be a full-blown lawsuit. So I would like to revisit how we can cancel a purchase agreement properly, and make sure that you don't have any loose ends before you leave the first buyer. Okay, and now of course the most important consideration, the things that you have to do, is that you have to sit down and write down all the important things that you have to consider, how to all the methodology of canceling the RPA. And so every T must be crossed and every I is dotted. That's the idioms that they say, that says that you must be very, very careful. And if you don't, it will come back and haunt you. And so first of all, you have to find out what is the reason that the seller may cancel the RPA. The first reason is that most common reason is the buyer fails to remove the applicable contingencies, or the buyer fails to deposit the EMD into the escrow, and then thirdly, the funds for the EMD has not been, or the increased deposit are not good when they are deposited. In other words, you have a bounce check or something like that. And so it ended up that the EMD is not deposited in the escrow. And the fourth reason is the buyers fails to deliver the pre-qualification letter. Like if there is a contingency for pre-qualification of loan, the buyer fails to deliver that, then at that point the seller can cancel the RPA also. And the fifth reason is the buyer fails to deliver the verification of the down payment and the closing costs. The sixth reason is that the seller has reasonably disapproved the verification. So in other words, the seller doesn't think that the pre-qualification is adequate or proper. And then the seventh reason is the buyer fails to return the TDS and NHD and the lead disclosure or the disclosure. So in other words, the buyer did not acknowledge the receipt of TDS and NHD or the required statutory disclosures. The eighth reason is the buyer fails to sign a separate liquidated damage form for increased deposit. That's also another reason for the seller to cancel the RPA. The ninth reason is the buyer fails to deliver notice of FHA or VA cost of terms. If there's either FHA or VA loan. And finally, the most common reason is that the buyer fails to close escrow as stipulated into the RPA. In other words, the buyer tried to postpone or procrastinate on the closing escrow. Those are the 10 most popular reason why the seller can cancel the contract. Now, are there any reason that any other? Is this the only reason that the seller may cancel escrow? No, there are other reasons. One of them is that the short, if the buyer did not sign the short sale addendum or the contingency for the sale of buyer's property, which is known as COP, and these are the contingencies that the seller wants to ascertain. And if the buyer did not properly address that, then the seller has the reason to cancel the RPA. And of course, there are other common law reasons why the seller can cancel the contract. Some of them are like, if it's involved with fraud or mistake, or duress, or undue influence, or irregularity, or any issues that undercut the meeting of the minds. In other words, there isn't any formation of contract in the buyer's or the seller's mind that you can also cancel it in the form of a common law. Okay. Now, but if these are the reasons not specifically addressed in the RPA, if it is addressed in the RPA, there's no problem, right? You can just code that's the contractual application. But if it's not, if it is outside the RPA and there's a concern with the common laws, then you better consult attorney, real estate attorney, who can help you with the proper handling of the case. Now, the procedure for the canceling is pretty simple. There are 6 steps. The first step is to check the time frame to see if the buyer has performed all the obligations that he's supposed to do. And this, step 2 is make sure the seller has fulfilled all the seller's obligations. Because if the seller did not fulfill his obligation, then he has no right to cancel the contract because he is also at fault. Okay, so the step 3 is that the NPB, which is notice to buyer to perform, or DCE, which is the demand to close escrow, must be properly filled out, indicating that the buyer has failed to do or something, or that the contingency has not been removed, and the seller must sign it. The step 4 is that the NBP or DCE must be physically and personally delivered and received by the seller and received by the buyer. And after that, the listing agent should obtain some kind of verification that it has been received. So this has been done properly too. If it's not done, then there's a questionable whether the buyer has been properly given a chance to respond, or they have the obligation to respond. Okay. The step 5 is that then you count the days. You know, in the NPP, the buyer has 2 days to perform, and if they did not perform by the end of the 2-day period, then the seller has the right to cancel the contract unilaterally. That means by itself. It doesn't have to have the consent of the buyer. Finally, the step 6 is that the day after the last day to perform, which is the end of the 2 days, the seller can then sign and deliver a cancellation using the cancellation of contract form, which is CC form. So once they deliver the CC form and received by the buyer, the cancellation, even though it's unilateral, is complete and it's legal. Okay, the time frame is very important. You have to count the days, you know, and you have to count what are the pertinent contingency removing periods. For example, for inspection contingency, or for the insurance contingency, or for appraisal contingency, and all has to be proper. They might have different dates, so you have to count you have to look at the time frames and make sure that it's that they are properly fulfilled, or properly anticipated, and properly expire. Okay. So how do you count the days? You know, as I said, the different contingency or different obligation has different time frame. So for example, for the notice to perform, you have 2 days to cure the defect. So in other words, the 2 days after the receipt of the NBP, then you have 2 days to respond. But after 2 days, if you don't respond, then the cancellation is effective. So but the last day cannot be on Saturday, Sunday, or the holiday. So in other words, if the 3rd day falls on a Saturday, Sunday, or holiday, then it has to be 1 day after that holiday, or the Saturday or Sunday. Okay, and you have to be careful, otherwise that enforcement would be voided if you didn't follow the guideline properly. And then to check the important thing is to check the buyer's compliance days. As I said, each contingency have different time frame and compliance days, and you have to literally pay very good attention to that. And also, if the buyer, the seller has the statutory obligation to give you the TDS, and then after the receipt of the TDS, the buyer has 5 days to rescind the contract. And after the 5 days, their right to rescind the contract will expire. So they will not have the right to rescind the contract anymore. So you have to count those days properly, and each one is different, as I said. So and then the second step is to make sure that the seller's obligation has been performed. there's a lot of statutory disclosure that the seller has to give to the buyer and acknowledged by the buyer, and so that has to be done. And as I told you before, that the TDS has a 5 days rescission period, and so if the seller did not give the buyer the TDS, the buyer always have a right to rescind the contract until 5 days after the buyer received the TDS. So that is a very important document, and that the time frames that upon that is TDS is 5 days. So okay, and the last day of the 5 days cannot be Saturday, Sunday, or the holiday. And if it falls on those days, there has to be 1 day after that Saturday, Sunday, or the holidays. Okay. Now, and then also you have to ask the question whether the seller has allowed the buyer to conduct the investigation. So if the physical inspection is 70 days, and but the buyer, after a repeated request to get access into the property, and the seller did not provide them the access to the property to do the physical inspection, then it will not count as the proper days to inspect the property. So the seller has to allow the buyer proper access to the property while they are doing the physical inspection. And also the earnest money deposit has to be deposited into escrow, and if that has not been deposited in escrow, then the seller has to do the notice of buyer to perform NBP to the buyer to put the deposit in escrow. If it's not if that has not been properly deposited, then the disclosure period will have to be extended too if it has not been deposited into escrow. The question is, there's a popular question is, does the seller has to complete the repairs before giving an NBP? A lot of times the buyer says, hey, you haven't done, you haven't finished all the repairs yet, so I don't have to give you removal of contingency as required by the RPA. And that is not true, because the seller has up to 5 days before the closing of escrow to complete the repairs. And completing the repair is not a prerequisite for the removal of contingency by the buyer. So this is two separate things. So in order to violate this principle, you cannot use the repair as an excuse not to remove the contingency. And then step 3, that is, you have to fill out the form. Okay, there are 2 forms: the NBP, which is the notice to buyer to perform, or the DCE, which is the demand for closing of escrow. They must be properly and correctly filled out, indicating that the buyer has failed to do their duties, and the seller must sign it in order to be effective. Okay, and then one common mistake is that they think that the seller sending out the contingency of removal is the same thing as the NBP. It's not the same thing. The CR form is just reminding that the buyer has to remove a certain contingency in a certain time period. It's not the same, technically it's not the same or legally effective as the NBP, which is the notice to for the buyers to perform. So you really have to serve them the NBP in order to validate your demand and that the before you can cancel the escrow. Okay. Now, how should the notice be completed? Very simple. You just have to check the correct boxes and then wait, send it to them and wait until after 2 days. If they don't perform, then they are in breach of the NPP. But make sure that you do not change the 2 days, at all. And this is the legally required amount of time that for the buyer to perform. So you cannot change to 1 day, or you cannot change to 48 hours. Okay, because this if you do that, then you're changing the requirement, and the buyer can come back and say that, hey, it's not a valid NPP. So don't change the date, and then after that you count the days and count the days properly. And also the seller must sign the NPP or the DCE. This is a direct requirement of the contract. And without the seller's signature, the NPP or the DCE is not effective. Okay. And then the step 4 is the delivery of the form. Very simple. You have to deliver personally deliver the form, and has to be personally received by the buyer. And after that, then you can count the date. And also it has to be properly served too. If in the LPA you stipulate to email as the proper way to serve notices, then you can use the email to serve it. Otherwise, it has to be personally delivered to the buyer in order to be effective. Okay. And step 5 is you count the days. So as I said, different contingency at different time frame, and you have to count the days properly and make sure that that the last day of performance, it doesn't fall on Saturday, Sunday, or holiday. And if it does, then the day of performance is 1 day after the holiday, or Saturday or Sunday. Okay. So the 2, then the 2 days period is effective after the expiration date. Then step 6 is the cancellation form. Now the cancellation form has to be delivered to the buyer in order to be effective. This is the form that you declare to the buyer that the contract has been terminated formally or legally. Even though it's unilateral, it is effective. The proper way has been followed. And but if the buyer remove the contingency before you service the CC, then the seller lose the right to cancel. Okay, so make sure that you serve the CC before the buyer remove the contingency. Okay. And after the cancellation, and then you have to do the cancellation of escrow only. Remember, the cancellation of a contract and the cancellation of escrow is 2 different separate issues. And one cancellation, one doesn't affect the cancellation of others. So you still have to deal with the cancellation of escrow, which requires the mutual consent of both parties, seller and the buyer. And if the buyer doesn't want to cancel escrow because the seller wants the liquidated damage, then that can be a dispute, and the dispute can last a long time. And so if the seller wants to settle this issue quickly, then just give back the liquidated damage. It's better than to engage you in a protracted lawsuit, which can cost a lot of money and a long time to do. So this is a business judgment that the seller has to make. Okay. Now, if the buyer insists on specific performance, then then this is the time to engage the attorney for this matter, because there's probably going to be a lawsuit, okay? And then lastly, for dealing with the MLS, after the before the seller issued the cancellation, the MLS status cannot change to active. It has to remain on pending. Okay, if you can change it to the active before you issue the cancellation, then if the MLS find out about it, they can fine you, and it can be a pretty heavy fine. You know, talking about $500 and you know, it's no fun. But after the issue the cancellation, and then whether you can put it back to active depends on which MLS you belong to. But if you belong to CR MLS, you probably can put it back to active, and if you belong to other sub MLS, and then you have to check from the local MLS whether you can do that or not. Okay, this you have to handle it carefully too. You don't want to get into a violation of MLS and get yourself fined. Okay, so well, I hope this will give you a little bit of synopsis of how to cancel the contract properly, and you don't get into trouble, because once you get in trouble, you know, a lot of things can happen, and you don't want to get into a lawsuit. Once you get into a lawsuit, it's going to cost you $20,000 just for the deductible, okay, and let alone with the agony of dealing with the lawsuit. So just to preventive measure, you just handle the cancellation of contract properly, okay, and legally. All right, at this point, I would like to stop and entertain any questions if you might have. Anybody have any questions? And this is not anything to sneeze about, okay? It's very real and it's very important. Yeah, it happens to one of our agents in the company recently, unfortunately. You know,
Peter, this is
Amelia, yeah.
Can you share what was, I mean, it doesn't have to be specific, but just what was the detail
The reason? Okay.
that they failed to do?
Yeah, the reason is very simple. They thought that the agent thought that the first buyer, you know, after the signing the contract, after the first buyer failed to put the EMD into the escrow properly, and the agent thought that there was no deal. You know, the cancel was automatically canceled, but in fact it's not, because even though the escrow was not open, then you still have the RPA, the contract, and then this agent marketed to a second buyer, and the second buyer opened escrow and everything is ready to close, and just before it closed, the first buyer found out about it, and then he stopped the sale and sue everybody. It's very simple.
Thank you. Thank you. Also, Peter, this has happened to me before, where I'm representing a buyer. They put in the EMD. They discover that they don't want the property anymore based on the physical inspection, and then the seller won't give the money back. They delay.
The seller doesn't want to give the money back?
Yes, even though no contingencies have been released.
Well, then you have to sue the seller in order to get the money back. So there's no easier way to do it.
Nobody wants to sue.
I know nobody wants to sue, but in order to get the money back, you have, because the escrow is not going to release the money in any way without the consent of the seller.
Is there any penalty for a seller not releasing money in the proper time frame?
Okay, if you win the lawsuit, yes, you can put in the penalty and for the damages.
How about without
including the attorney fees, including attorney fees?
What about without a lawsuit?
No, you can't. Nobody is going to say you are right or wrong unless the judge say that. because it can be a lot of reason why the seller doesn't want to release the EMD, right?
I guess, but
Yeah, it's
maybe
a dispute. It's a dispute between the seller and the buyer. In order
yes.
to settle the dispute, you have to go to court.
All right,
So,
thank you.
yeah. Okay. Anything else? Anybody have any other questions? Now, if you need any additional information, Michelle and I will be glad to help you. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, so we will give you a personal tutor. Okay. Anything else? Oh, well, if not, I would wish you a very nice week ahead, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Great week,
Bye,
everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.